Hello, everyone, and welcome in to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented by Betway. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by co-host Adam Peddle. Folks, we are in the thick of free agency right now. You got a pretty heated battle going on for the most coveted name in the sport, or at least this offseason anyways, being Juan Soto. We're going to break that down, as well as a bunch more, some shots actually taken at Juan Soto from a surprising third party that I think a lot of people didn't expect, but a lot of fun stuff going on there, as well as Roki Sasaki, phenom, over there in the NPB. There was a lot of speculation whether or not he was, in fact, going to get posted. He is going to get posted. He's coming to the show. He is going to be on an MLB squad at some point. And the beautiful thing about him is, well, effectively anyone could be in the race because he's not going to cost that much money on a rookie deal. So a lot of stuff going on there, as well as the official MLB free agent predictions. They came out with it. We're going to slam them for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, sidebar, everyone, I apologize if my voice is a little bit off today. I am feeling a bit under the weather, but not so under the weather that I can't talk a little bit of ball. Adam, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. We'll talk about the NFL later for our Betway segment, but
sure.
You know, when your team, the Arizona Cardinals, win 4 in a row, it makes me feel optimistic for the future, you know, and I feel like a lot of these MLB teams are in that offseason right now where, you know, if they didn't have a good offseason or a good season, you know, they got to do something to make themselves feel optimistic going into next year, and getting a few free agents would definitely help with that. And, you know, especially Juan Soto or Roki Sasaki, you know, that would be an absolutely big addition, you know, and the Cardinals are doing it without any big additions, so That's just even better.
Well, yeah, this is Victory Monday for you, so congratulations.
Yeah,
it feels good.
But
you're right, man. This is the first domino of effectively like the rest of the season. In what I'm referring to is 2025 season, right? For a lot of these teams, you know, you need this first domino in the offseason to fall properly so that you can get yourself on track and that you're not going to be playing from behind, you know, the 8 ball or whatever, right? Because you think about it from a New York Yankees standpoint. Well, if you lose Juan Soto, the way that I look at you, the way that everyone else looks at you, the way that you look at yourself is going to be vastly different from if you got Juan Soto and then added on top of that, right? So this really is like a big swing this offseason for a lot of different MLB teams to get themselves on the right track for 2025.
Yeah, you want to talk dominoes. I just had the visual. Like, if you lose Juan Soto, if you're the New York Yankees, you got to make that domino line even longer. You're not knocking down the dominoes. You got to keep stacking the dominoes.
100%.
There's a lot more things that got to go right for you if you want to get back to contention, right? I mean, like, they already have such a good roster. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. And if they lose Soto, still think they're going to be in the mix, but they have a lot more work that they got to do if they don't get Soto. And we're going to talk about it just in a little bit. But before we do, Roki Sasaki. How do you pronounce his name? Because I saw some people commenting.
See, I think it's I specifically actually looked it up online previously, and it told me Sasaki.
Sasaki.
Sasaki. Could be wrong. That was a YouTube video, so maybe they're just pulling my chain, but I think it's Sasaki. Roki Sasaki.
I trust YouTube.
Yeah.
So Roki Sasaki, you know, obviously we were kind of waiting last podcast for him to get posted, and the whole, you know, thing behind him not getting posted was the fact that he would make a lot less money if he was to be posted now, just for the fact that he didn't have the service time, right? And right now, if you're looking over as a straight comparison to what he would be coming over at and earning, would be like an Ohtani type of deal when he first came over to the Angels, which he only got a signing bonus of like $2.3 million, and then he was on some pre-arbitration deals, and then going into arbitration deals with the Angels after that. So for Sasaki to come over this early, it would be, you're losing a lot less money, and the NPB would be losing a lot less money, but it didn't matter because they posted him over the weekend, and now the bidding war is on for Roki. Tell me who right now are the favorites for Roki and why? And tell me a little bit more about the details too, because everyone always thinks it's going to be the highest bidder, but in this case, it's not like that.
Yeah, it really is anyone's ball game to an extent, though, because being Japanese and effectively having your pick of the ball here, it's abundantly clear that there is, you know, a favorite over everyone else. And I understand it, right? I really do. Like, if you're a good baseball player that, is going to be on a rookie contract, like you're making a sacrifice in terms of a monetary standpoint. And I do think, just to sidebar talking about that a little bit, I think it's kind of crazy. It just, I guess it speaks to how much this guy wants to play in the MLB and wants to be here and maybe start his legacy at age 23. Because, 2 more years, if he would have waited till he's age 25, he could have got a Yoshinobu Yamamoto contract.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing saying that later down the line in his MLB career, if he has a really good 6 years as a rookie and whatever, maybe he could still get that contract. But, it just feels to me like the easiest pathway would have been to play 2 more years in Japan and then do that. But he decided not to, and he's ready to start his MLB career, so all the credit to him. If you are ready to start your MLB career, though, and you are taking that, supposed monetary loss for now, I don't want to be on a kind of rebuilding or retooling ball club, there's a very short list of teams that I'm looking at and thinking to myself, okay, if I'm really doing this and I'm willing to sacrifice, a big time contract in 2 years to be on this team, I want to be competing for a chip. I want to be in the playoffs. I want to have my name out there. I want to get sponsorships. I want to get endorsements. The best place to do that by a wide margin is, of course, the LA Dodgers.
Of course. And I thought about this morning. Next year's rotation, if they do sign Roki, next year's rotation could be Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki.
Yeah.
Like that. That's gross. That's literally the entire Japanese team from the World Baseball Classic.
I made a short about that the other day, talking about how they're just assembling that team that won the World Baseball Classic, right? And you think about that team. I mean, that Japanese team in the World Baseball Classic that won it, they beat out America. And, America's team was not a bunch of slouches either.
It wasn't.
It was Trout and it was Harper and it was all of these elites coming together. And they did better than that, So it's like these guys, we've already seen that Yamamoto can play, and we've seen, obviously, that Shohei Ohtani can play. Sasaki can play, right? From what I've heard, he can play.
He's supposed to be the greatest pitcher to come out of the MPB ever, right? And that says something.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because they were looking at Ohtani, because when he first came over, the whole thing was the two-way player, and the whole word was he could be the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
And here we are. He is on pace to being the greatest player ever, right? So Sasaki could be the greatest pitcher of all time to come out of the NPB, and there's some pretty good pitchers that have come out of the NPB. I'm talking about Yu Darvish as well, too. And that's the other sort of contender that's in on this mix. Another West Coast team, not as glamorous in terms of the Japanese star power, but apparently Roki and Yu, they both had a relationship when they were playing in Japan together at the World Baseball Classic. So there was some little note to that maybe he could be swayed to play over with the Padres and then make a decision later, But either way, he's got the pick of the litter. And again, to circle back to the whole money thing too, he's going to get all these endorsements and whatnot. So I think he'll be financially set. But also there could be a reality, if Roki comes over and he pops off in his first 2 years, if I'm a team like the Dodgers and I just want to lock this guy down, maybe I buy out the rest of his arbitration years, pay him what I think he would deserve, and then lock on and tack on that guarantee.
Wow. I mean, I still think the guy is going to be perfectly fine for his life. And we're talking about millions and millions of dollars here, and I'm sure that especially if he did come over to the LA Dodgers, I could see partnerships going on where it's you get this big advertisement for whatever it may be. I'm just not sponsored by these guys or anything like that, but Nike or something, right? And Nike gets, Sasaki, Yamamoto, and Ohtani all in one advertisement, right? And it's that's the ad that they play in Japan, all over the. I could really see something like that going down. I'm sure from a monetary standpoint, Sasaki will be 100% fine. Just for me, it's really just a total value thing. Could you have made, $50 more million over the course of, your 15 or 20 year playing career.
Right.
If you would have waited 2 years, maybe, I don't know. Hindsight will be 2020. I'm sure the guy is going to be just fine, though. To your point about the San Diego Padres and Yu Darvish, I think that's definitely a shout. But Yu Darvish is also on the tail end of things. I wouldn't be shocked if, next year or 2 years or 3 years from now, could be the end or hanging him up for Yu Darvish. He's definitely getting up there in age. So again, I hear that, and I think that I guess that's the closest other possibility for him. But like if I had to put a percentage on this, like I'd say like 90% of the time this guy is going to end up an LA Dodger.
Yeah, 100%. I really don't think there's any other competition. Maybe like that's the thing. It's like Steve Cohen's advantage is money, but that's it. And right here, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't.
Yo, speaking of Yu Darvish, not to get totally derailed here, but he's 38 years old right now. He still has 4 years left on his contract. Until he's age 42 is when he's a free agent. Wow.
I mean, that is the thing. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to play all those years, too.
No.
I mean, it's up to him what he wants to do. Like, we'll see how the performance is. He's still very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when you get up to that 38, 39 mark, like at any given moment, they can hang it up.
Dude, for me, it's so clear. Like if I'm Roki, there's no other place I'm going than LA.
Of course.
There's not a chance.
Yeah. Right. Like it's, I would even go so far to say, is there a team? There goes our light. Is there a team in North American sports that if you had to, like just all sports in general, you had to say like, I'm a star player in a respective game. Like this is where I want to play. I don't think that there's any other team out there other than the LA Dodgers that I would pick. Like maybe the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs,
you know what I mean? But it's like just thinking about like if I was like a star player in any one of these sports, the most set teams in North American sports anyways are probably either the Dodgers, maybe the Chiefs.
I'm not too familiar with basketball, but like the Celtics,
maybe,
I don't know.
Right?
I have no idea.
But just from an investment standpoint, like I feel like I might have to say the LA Dodgers.
Yeah,
right?
I mean they're set for the next 10 years. They have 3 MVPs and they have Shohei Ohtani, which could be the greatest player of all time. Why would I not want to go play?
And
on
they're
that
gonna
team?
keep investing too.
And they're gonna keep.
It's
investing.
like that every single like the fact that these guys are even in the conversation mildly for Juan Soto is a really like that's. I feel like we're not talking about how insane that is after you already have Ohtani and all these other people. Like I've seen people online discuss like, well, if they get Juan Soto, I'm gonna stop watching baseball.
Yeah, for real.
And and obviously I'm not gonna stop watching baseball. No. But like, there is an element of frustration if you're not a Dodgers fan because like,
I know
how the fuck did the rest of the league let this happen?
Yeah, I know. It's going to be every single year from here on out. It's going to be, okay, Dodgers will be in the World Series. Which AL team are they going to spank this time? For the AL for the next 10 years will just be, I'm happy to get there. That's our World Series. And then we'll get spanked by the Dodgers. And then we'll move on to next year.
I mean,
that's it.
It feels like that could be the way of things, right?
I'll accept it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If we can make it to the World Series and get spanked by the Dodgers, I'd be like, all right, so, success,
Great.
right?
Amazing season.
Yeah, I mean, they got Shohei Ohtani and Sasaki and Yamamoto. Well, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, this is just the way of things. So, it's looking like they could get another big-time superstar. And honestly, the best thing about this guy, like, this is why MLB has him as their second overall, I guess, free agent and everything. Like, number one's Juan Soto, obviously, but number two is this guy, even though he hasn't literally thrown a baseball in MLB before. But it's because of that contract, right? It's the fact that you are getting somebody who should be really, really, really good, would be, probably the number one overall ranked prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Like on, MLB Pipeline.
Yeah.
And, you're just, like, acquiring him to a rookie deal that you're not, like, it's like the first 3 years, like, it's free.
Yeah,
almost,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're not, he's paying for himself. So.
Exactly. It's basically like, like adding a Paul Skeens. So you want Paul Skeens?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Boom. Got it.
Got
it's
Paul
like just
Skeens
in
now.
there. Yeah, and that's part of, because you think about guys like a Corbin Burns. Well, next year, is Corbin Burns going to be better than Roki Sasaki in MLB? Probably, but Corbin Burns is also going to cost $35 million a year, whereas this guy's going to cost one,
whatever it might be.
Whatever it's like, not a lot, So that element of things, it's like if the Dodgers get this guy, they're still in on Juan Soto, and they're still in on whoever else. Right?
That, and we don't talk about this enough, but that Ohtani contract where they relegated 68 million of 70 to the back end of a quote-unquote 20-year deal is insane, and that's going to be the reason why they go on and get all these guys and have a great dynasty.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, they're definitely going to have to bite the bullet a little bit later on, but again, you already got one World Series. So, in the first year, you got one World Series, and we were always saying, it's like, well, that Ohtani contract, if you don't win anything, I mean, that's a big-time bust. You already did that.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of at the way I look at it is like 1 was like the bare minimum.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
but now you got time to win more than that. You know, if you win
Exactly.
2 or 3, then you're perfectly fine with having a 10-year period where you're not that good anymore.
Yeah, and that Ohtani contract is going to pay for itself. I mean, it's already starting to pay for it. It's already starting to pay for itself. So, like, I guarantee, like, Dodgers have some sort of, like, budget where they're putting money aside for the future, and they're like, okay, like, we'll keep reinvesting, but a little bit aside. Like, they probably already projected, like, how we're going to pay off this contract 10 years down the line,
sure,
and then they're going to be fine.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah.
It's a gamble, but it's already paying off. So, LA Dodgers, once again, just playing a completely different game than every other MLB franchise. I'm very, very jealous. I am excited to see Roki Sasaki come to the MLB and see what he can do. But holy mother of God, that rotation is going to look incredible if he does, in fact, choose to go to the LA Dodgers.
It is. They're going to be a dream team, man. And, other teams got to do even more to compete, even get to nearly the same level as the LA Dodgers. And those teams right now, the most likely of those teams, I'm looking over at the Yankees, because they went to the World Series. Mets had a great run last year. I mean, hell, even the Padres, like we mentioned. But, one way to add onto your team is getting the next other big free agent on that top list, posted by the MLB, which is Juan Soto. And over the weekend, Soto has been meeting with some of these teams. You had Steve Cohen going and meeting with Juan Soto.
No, it hasn't happened yet. It's happening. It hasn't happened. It's happening this week. So it was
this
saying,
week.
Yeah,
Okay.
like he was flying out because I guess Soto
out.
He's in California, right? I don't know if he's got a home in California or maybe he does. Like maybe he had one there, like when he was with the Padres or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so apparently like Steve Cohen, it was reported he is flying out to California this week.
Right.
So I don't know if it's today or like later this week or something, but like that meeting is set and it's like going to happen this week. And I imagine Steve Cohen, as we know, he likes to throw his money around quite a bit too, just like the LA Dodgers.
Yeah.
He's going to go a little insane mode, I think, meeting him in person.
Of course. And then you got Hal Steinbrenner, the owner of the Yankees. He then countered with setting up a meeting.
Yeah.
It looks like on his own trip. They don't have a date or anything, but it's scheduled where Boras headquarters are located in Southern California.
Okay, so sorry, that's why they're going there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was
the
thinking maybe
headquarters.
Soto was over there, but
Yeah.
no, obviously Boras is over there.
It's Boras. He's going to see Boras,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, yeah, that's crazy. You had Steinbrenner be like, oh, shit, we better get on this because Cohen's in on this. So
100%.
This week you're going to have probably some, and you know how Cohen loves to play the media too. He likes to spin in the media into all these negotiations. So we're going to know what kind of, if the meeting was good, if it was bad, if they were far apart, if they weren't. Like, we're going to know because he likes to get the media riled up so that it puts pressure on other teams.
It's not just him, though. It's Boras, too. Boras loves...
Yeah.
Oh, you
That's
said,
what I meant.
you said
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Cohen. Okay.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, literally, Boras is majorly in on all that, just trying to get the value up. So the fact that like Steve Cohen's meeting got out there, I'm sure Boras loved. Maybe he even leaked it. For all we know,
leaked it, 100%.
because of course, then if you're the New York Yankees, you're like, oh shit, like this guy's flying out there. It's happening next week. You're starting to sweat a little bit. You don't want to be caught flat-footed here. You got to get out there as well. This is going to be one hell of a battle between Steve Cohen and Hal Steinbrenner for Juan Soto and having him for the next decade on your team. The Yankees did a great job at showing him what they're capable of doing on the field, but Steve Cohen could outperform you when it comes to the monetary aspect of things, right?
Absolutely.
It's really interesting, guys, when you look over to this MLB 12 predictions, 12 free agents. They came out with this article looking at like the biggest time free agents and giving their predictions for it, and they got a bunch of different analysts to kind of like vote on this and everything like that. For Juan Soto, for every other MLB free agent that's on here, the top favorite teams like 30% or 25%. For Juan Soto, the number one team they have is the New York Yankees at 52%, and then the New York Mets at 40%, and then there's like a bunch of other teams at 2%. But it's effectively like it's going to be the Yankees or it's going to be the Mets. We don't know which one yet. It's up in the air. Flip a coin. It can go either way.
Yeah.
But like this is going to be a really fun watch, man.
Yeah, I mean, like Soto said, I want a team and I want an ownership that's committed to winning. And you're having these two owners fly out, and basically what Boras said in the quote of why they're having all these meetings, he said this is about owner commitment. So it's literally the owner is interviewing for Juan Soto, essentially laying out on the table how he plans to commit to winning. Like quote here, it's about showing Juan Soto that his goals of winning and winning consistently will be met because that's what makes a game enjoyable for him. So, and he already made comments. I'm not going to read it all, but he was talking about how like Juan Soto was already impressed with the Yankees for the fact they went to the World Series in the first time he was there. Obviously, that's a big, I guess, note for the Yankees advantage there. But also, the Mets were this close. Yeah. I mean, they ran into the Dodgers, and I bet if the Mets ran into the Yankees, this is just me pure speculation, they could have beat the Yankees. The Mets, just how good they were playing.
And also too, I'm sure that Steve Cohen can spin that in a way of, well, had we had you in that NLCS, we would have went to the World Series.
Look at all the guys that we have on this team.
Yeah, if you would have been on our squad, that would have been the difference to beating the LA Dodgers and then inevitably winning the World Series together. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different arguments that you could make if you're either one of these guys, and I do think that they both have really, really strong claims. At the beginning of this whole thing, I was thinking to myself, like, well, of course, it's got to be the Yankees. Like, you can't possibly, like, let him walk away. But now I'm not so sure because, like, if you're Steve Cohen, you can't possibly let this guy go to them again. You know, it's like, that, like, this is your guy. There's not going to be another opportunity to get a Juan Soto in the next coming years. I mean, I guess maybe if Guerrero's a free agent, but, like, it's still not the same. It's just not the same, right? Like, this is a Ted Williams level of Hall of Fame generation. Use all the big fucking words that you want to use. Like, the guy's really damn good at baseball, and he will bring you to World Series. So, like,
and I think advantage for me goes to the Mets, and here's why. You want to have someone lay out your plan to win. What you're going to do to win. The Steve Cohen, we've seen him every other year, right? Because I guess you got to let the budget rest. But every other year splashes, and he's been proving that. Whereas the Yankees, like, they went and got Garrett Cole, I think right after 2019 season, and that was a big commitment. They signed back Aaron Judge, that was a big commitment. And then they go and they added like some little adds here and there. But honestly, and they were hearing rumors from Yankees kind of trying to get back under $300 million. It feels like they're trying to like rework some things right now. They're not bringing up their top prospects. It feels like they need Juan Soto to have a chance to win, whereas the Mets adding Juan Soto brings them over the top, potentially winning a World Series. Yeah. That's just where I'm at.
No, I hear you, man. Again, like that's a fair point, and I do think that there's some truth to that. I think that you might be underselling the Yankees a little bit in terms of like going out and doing stuff, just because it's like, let's not forget, they paid for Carlos Rodon, and they did make the big trade for Juan Soto, so it's like they showed that we're willing to go out and do that stuff. And there has been, like they brought in Anthony Rizzo. Again, like these guys aren't that good anymore, but they did spend the money to do it. So like I do still think that they're very committed to spending all that money. The one thing I will go against the Mets about, though, and this is something that I think that Steve Cohen's going to need to lay out for Juan Soto and really show him what's what here, is the fact that they're losing the most free agents in MLB this year. Like, there is a lot of people coming off the books, and I was looking at that. Pete Alonso's obviously the big-time name here, but they got a bunch of different pitchers leaving, a bunch of different bullpen arms.
Like, their entire starting rotation is basically
is effectively gone, right? And that's something that, barring Juan Soto or forget about him, you got to address that, and I think that in these meetings with Soto, a serious question is going to be like, all right, well, who the fuck's throwing the ball? I can hit as many home runs as you need to, but like, who's throwing the ball? And then also, like, is Alonso coming back? Because I want that guy batting behind me if he is.
True.
You know what
That's
I mean? Like,
true.
there are still a lot of questions there as well. I have faith that Steve Cohen, if he does get Juan Soto, will continue to splash the money and bring back, Alonso, and bring back some of these pitchers.
And he'll get a ton of pitchers,
I think he's still going to do it. But obviously, like, there are still some question marks there as well.
No, for sure. And I think it's going to be – it's interesting to see. I wonder if as this free agency goes on, if you see, like, the Yankees or the Mets bring in, like, a starting pitcher or bring in some other piece to be like, okay, now here's me trying to sweeten the deal for you.
Sure,
You know what I mean? Whereas, like, vice versa, where it's like, I'm going to get you, then go get those guys. Like, I'm going to bring in guys before I get you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, like, this is one of the – it's a rare, I guess, like, courting process because, usually, right, it's like if you're a free agent, you're excited to get an offer from a team, like for like Teoscar Hernandez, for instance, he's a really good player. He's a really, really good player. But for him, there's one team that he wants an offer from, and it's the LA Dodgers.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to be holding out for. Juan Soto has offers from everyone.
Yeah.
And so now it's like the ball isn't in my court anymore. Like I'm not getting swayed because I got a $600 million offer from you.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to go above and beyond because I also got, 3 other $600 million offers, right? Like this really is like, this is the fucking prom queen right here. And like, if you want to take prom queen to prom, like you got to have the best promposal.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
It's more than just the money at this
Bro,
point. It's everything.
And we got to get some other people in on this mix, Like I'm looking at the Dodgers, I'm looking at the Giants, I'm looking at our Toronto Blue Jays.
100%.
Like where's our flying to California, guys?
Well, Bob Nightingale, if you guys didn't see this info, but Bob Nightingale, big time MLB insider, has been known to get things wrong before, kind of notorious for predicting things wrong. Not to say that he doesn't get things right as well.
Yeah.
I believe he was the person that debunked Shohei Ohtani coming to the Toronto Blue Jays on the plane. So, I guess you could give him a check mark right there. But he predicted in a recent article that the Toronto Blue Jays were actually going to be the team that swoops in, pays $630 million for Juan Soto, and just like sneaks it away from the Mets and the Yankees. As a Blue Jay fan, like obviously, I'm literally like rock solid reading this article and going down Fantasyland about how he's gonna be like walking off the Yankees and the ALCS and everything like that. But when I hear that Steve Cohen and Hal Steinbrenner are flying out to California, and I haven't heard a goddamn thing about how the Toronto Blue Jays management is doing a similar thing or anything like that.
Yeah,
I just find it so far fetched, man.
Yeah, and like you want to talk about like presenting your plan to commitment to win, like the Blue Jays would have, like we'll put our heads together and we have this budget and we're gonna stay within this budget and no, like you know what I mean, like that's what they've been saying is like the Blue Jays front office is like committed to a certain budget. It's going to be spent the same as last year, and they're only going to do certain things that make sense for them, and they're going to only do these things. It's like, dude, if I was sitting in that room with Ross Atkins hearing that, I'm going to be like, dude, you're a loser. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like I got Steinbrenner over here saying he's going to splash $100 more mil. I got Steve Cohen saying he's about to drop the Brinks trucks. There's going to be an array of Brinks trucks being loaded out for all the free agents going to bring for me. Like, you got to get the hell out of this room. You're not serious.
I heard, actually, I don't know how true this is, but I was listening in on a podcast, and I heard that Steve Cohen, since taking over the New York Mets with all the money that he spent, has lost $200 to $300 million.
Wow.
Again, I don't know how accurate that is.
I can believe it.
But when you really think about like all the results that they've had or lack thereof, and all of the contracts that we've seen this guy go out and do, like we've watched him spend, over $1 billion at this point on various different players and everything like that.
Yeah.
So could he have lost 200, 300? It's very possible. If that is true, though, the fact that he is still going out here and throwing money around, like, he cares.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way, because I look at it in the sense of there's all these other owners, Hal, I know that he cares and whatever, but like, Toronto Blue Jays, for instance, it feels like their owners are really in it just for the monetary aspect of things. We're going to pay for Juan Soto so that we can win more playoff games, so that we can get more money. Steve Cohen's in it because I'm going to pay for Juan Soto so that I can win a World Series and I can watch my favorite team under my ownership win.
Even if it costs me $300 million.
Even if I'm going to lose money.
Yeah.
I want to have that feeling. I want to bring a championship to Queens.
That's different.
It's a different mentality, right? It is. And that alone, like I guess if this is why I've been going back and forth on these two guys, right? Like that alone to me is more valuable than anything, because it means that you are willing to go above and beyond even when the team is shit. Even if in 2 years from now, everyone's fucking sucks and they're injured and whatever. It's like, well, we're going to lose money this offseason if we spend. He won't care.
Yeah,
because
he'll pull it out of his own pocket.
Exactly. It's like, it's about winning. This guy, it's like he's like Jerry Jones to the Cowboys. He wants to win before he dies.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. He wants to win before he dies, and he's going to do anything to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So absolutely, Steve Cohen he's got the advantage. I mean, that's the difference, right? From a corporation, we're sitting in a boardroom going 1% over, 1% under. This is our budget. Whereas like Cohen's like F it money.
Yeah.
You know, like let's just splash it. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And you know what? For New York's sake, they're probably going to have a Juan Soto still in New York, and everyone should be happy, regardless whether Juan Soto stays in the city, right? Everyone should be happy, right?
Well, unless you are a Queens fan,
yeah.
Oh, unless this guy.
Unless your name is Phil Mushnick, and you would just hate it if Juan Soto came and stayed and played for your favorite team. And by reading this article, I think he is a Mets fan. So let me just read you this title. This was a ridiculous article made by Phil Mushnick of the New York Post, and everybody was like, dude, what are you talking about? Here's the title. Juan Soto showboating makes him tough act to suffer as free agency frenzy heats up. And let me just tell you, we're going to go into the details of the article, but an overview is, it starts out, he's talking about how annoying it is to watch Juan Soto showboat and gloat and flip his bat and do the Soto shuffle and all that. And then it slowly starts to devolve into talking about gambling scandals and like how Cohen is like has a bunch of money that I don't even know. Like it just feels like your old grandpa ranting in the corner at Thanksgiving, and you're like, okay, Gramps, okay, buddy, like back in my day it wasn't like it's like, all right, Gramps, thank you. Yeah, this article is ridiculous.
No, it is stupid, dude, and like it's a massive article just slamming Juan Soto for effectively no reason. And we'll get into, I guess, more of what this guy does, Phil, because looking at some of the other articles he has here, Phil is an angry man. But dude, like, what on earth is wrong with Juan Soto shuffling in your face when he takes the most beautiful borderline pitch? There's I love it. I love the energy and the electricity and the FU mentality that Juan Soto has, because he does it in such a way where it's like this guy's not outright being an asshole.
No.
I just think that it's like he is such a competitor that, like, in that moment, it's like we're locked in. Like, it's almost like a dance to him, It's just like so, it's primal watching this guy play baseball.
Entertaining.
It's entertaining, It's like fuck. I don't want to watch these guys who's just like, oh, like I struck out. Darn,
no.
Like
I want to see emotion.
Back to the or like. Yeah, nothing, right? I took a good borderline pitch. Oh, I don't give a fuck. No, this is a big time game, right? I want to, I know there's 162 of these games, but every single at-bat, every single pitch means something to Juan Soto, and maybe you can't say that for every other MLB player, or at the very least, they don't show it like he does. He plays with an energy, with a firepower that should not be criticized, in my opinion, by this Phil Mushnick, but in fact, I really think it should be celebrated.
Oh, I know. And honestly, it's ridiculous what he says. And I really do think that guys like Phil are in the minority of a lot of baseball fans nowadays. I mean, there's a reason why baseball is getting more popular. Yeah, you got one of the greatest players ever, coming from Japan, playing in the game now, making it exciting, doing crazy things. But it's also because of the energy, it's created. And I always think back, and this is no bias for Blue Jays. Ever since the Jose Bautista bat flip in 2015, the game's getting more and more away from that older style play where we don't show our emotions and we just go about our business. It's becoming like this, and Phil can't stand it. Like, he literally says, perhaps I could not suffer Soto's style of play. And he goes on to agree. He is a superior batter, but spends more time practicing his elaborate home run handshakes and is indiscriminately eager to demonstrate immodest home plate behavior than learning to play right field. Are you kidding me?
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the hell out of here. You think this guy literally is in the mirror like, shuffle.
What are you talking
rather
about?
than going and playing and shagging balls in right field? Are you kidding me?
No,
shut up, bro.
That's truly ridiculous right there, man. I mean, again, we're talking about somebody who's probably on a Hall of Fame trajectory to question their work ethic and question their commitment to their game because they shuffle in the box and stare down the pitcher in a tough at bat. That is so ignorant, honestly. That's just so ignorant.
And does he even know how the Soto shuffle came about? It was something he didn't plan. Like, it was I'm in the moment, and because when you're looking at a pitch coming in, he's tracking it. He's so good. He's tracking it all the way with his eyes, and he had to bend down low to, like, really see it. And then when he gets down low, he's, like, getting himself up, and he's like, oh, like, he kind of felt himself in that moment. It started from a natural kind of occurrence.
Yeah.
He doesn't fucking practice
no,
it,
of course
Bill.
not. Of course,
like that's just again that's the old mentality.
It's just obviously I assume he's exaggerating here, but it's just what are you talking about, dude? Like, seriously, what are you talking about? Why are you so angry? It genuinely just feels like somebody who's really mad that the Yankees lost. Because I'm imagine he's from the New York Post. I'm guessing he's got to be a Yankees fan.
I think he might be a Mets fan, because he's talking about how, like, so the Mets are now the leading contenders for Soto, who perhaps nearly $1 million in Steve Cohen's hedge fund and gambling casino speculations. Great. So I think, like, he's kind of like, oh, great, like, Cohen's in on him. Like, I'm assuming Mets in that way, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, well, that's why I don't think he's a Mets fan, though, because, like, he kind of goes on and, like, is talking about how they're, like, yeah, like, they're just going to spend more money and, like...
Yeah, this whole, like I said off the top, this whole article begins to devolve, and he starts, like, going at, like, crooked insider trading.
Takes a shot at Ohtani later.
Takes a shot at Ohtani, Rob Manfred, this guy named Faye Vincent. I'm not too informed on what the hell he's talking about, but to go from Juan Soto to looking like his showboating to, like, these, like, gambling scandals and inside trading, bruh, like, that's the comparison to the old man in the corner. Like, okay, Grandpa, like, he's just rambling right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we lost our train of thought, and we're still talking, but we should have stopped talking a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy talks a lot, too, folks. Like, looking at some of the other articles he has here, the World Series was the absolute worst, and it's finally over. Why I'm breaking up with the New York Giants after 60-plus years of fandom. What else do we have here? Oh, this is a good one. There was nothing redeeming in Pete Rose's character. This was literally posted directly after Pete Rose died.
Oh, my goodness.
How to fix insufferable NFL pregame shows. It's like there's actually not a single, not even just positive, but just like grounded article here. It's like every single article that I'm looking at. Classic World Series Game 1 burdened by ceaseless yapping. Like, legitimately, every single article is just complete negative. What I'm expecting from Fox's World Series coverage, fake laughs and all. Like, it's literally just like any single thing that you could possibly create in a negative light, he is doing that.
And hey, you know what? Credit to him for getting clicks because we're talking about it right now. But, like, damn, dude. Well, he started working for the New York Post in 1982?
So he joined the Post in 1973 and then became a columnist in 1982. So he's been with them for, like, over 50 years at this point. Ooh. And then it started, like, writing articles, I guess, 40-odd years ago and just... I don't know, man. He's fed up. He's done.
Look, I respect, you keep on working because I feel like when I'm his age, I want to just keep going and doing some things. And I guess this is your thing. But, like, dude, like, man, you are so outdated, dude. It's not even close.
I think, you know what? I think really his brand, though, is just like, fuck it all.
Fuck it all. I'm the old man and I don't care. And I'm going to just say my opinion and piss
exactly.
people off.
You're going to piss people off. You're going to get some clicks. And we're going to talk about why he's ridiculous on Juan Soto, why he's wrong. But you know what? Good on you, buddy. I guess if that's your take, I disagree with it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But once again, like we said, you are getting media coverage, folks. Let us know your thoughts about this down below. Before we move on and talk about the next thing, let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Betway.
Yeah, guys. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code on the screen. Or click the link in the details section to join the action. Available in Ontario only. Must be 19 years or older to participate. So please, guys, play responsibly. It's Monday. We were talking about football right off the top of this podcast. You've got the LA Rams versus the Miami Dolphins. Rams are at home. They're favorited. Multiplier of 1.74. Dolphins 2.25. So it's a lot closer. Dolphins, though, they almost beat the Bills last week. They almost beat my Cardinals, but then they didn't. So they've lost 2 in a row ever since Tua came back. are they going to do it against the Rams at home, against the Rams team that is starting to cook a little
Honestly, like, this is a really close one for me, because, like, my gut is immediately saying Rams, and just, like, being at home and Rams, like, they should have Cooper Kupp, but I think Puka Nacua is
he's
good to
back
go.
now.
So, I mean, like, that offense is obviously, like, a lot better, but you could make the same argument for Miami, and they did look pretty good against the Bills last week in a game that, you know, they were 3 points away from winning. I'm, like, really split on this one, man. Like, I do think the smart money's probably still on the Rams,
Right.
but because you're getting plus money on the Dolphins, I wouldn't be afraid to, like, sprinkle a couple bucks there and
Right.
just, like, hope for the best.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I feel like I'm always just a money line guy, and I'll just take like Rams money line. The spreads though are a little bit tough. Like, yeah, I don't like the spreads too much. Like for Dolphins, it's like it's plus 2.5 or 2 multiplier of 2, so double your money for a plus 2.5. What do you think? I mean, that actually might not be too bad.
Plus
that might be
so
the
you
safest one.
you give them 2 points,
Yeah.
and then you just like
Because every game they've lost so far, I think by a field goal.
it's been really
so,
close.
Yeah,
You know, it's been really tight. Yeah, that might be the motive there. Everybody, again, like this could be. You know, considering the two teams right now, if Tua is, and this is the thing, this is his third week back right now, so like, again, I'm not like a Tua lover or anything,
Right.
but like I do think, you know, 3 weeks in, you're probably starting to feel a bit better, you know, in rhythm and stuff. If that offense gets cooking, like maybe the smartest play actually would just be to smash the over, because I don't think
Right.
Miami's defense is that good, and like I don't think the Rams defense is
isn't
that good.
yeah.
And you're looking at two teams with like two really good receivers on both squads, a good running back, you know what I mean, on both teams, good young running back, and two quarterbacks that can sling it. I think maybe the over might be the play.
Don't pick a winner, just pick the
Just
over.
pick the over.
I'm down for that, guys. So check it out. Click that link in the description or scan the QR code to sign up for Betway. But again, you must be 19 years or older and in Ontario only. All right, let's move on. We've got some Platinum Glove winners, guys, real quickly. Let's just chat about this. This came to a surprise to me personally, the Platinum Glove Award winners. The winner in the National League was Bryce Turang. I mean, that one I wasn't too familiar with, his game. Actually, and we'll talk about his numbers too. They are kind of shocking. And then in the American League, the Platinum Glove Award winner is Cal Raleigh, the catcher. Now, first things first, I want to talk about is the American League, because maybe it's Blue Jay bias coming in, but Dalton Varsho I thought was a shoe-in smash to win the Platinum Glove, where he led the entire American League in fielding run value, had a 100th percentile in fielding run value in terms of baseball savant. This one for me felt like an obvious one that should have been smashed, but it goes to Cal Raleigh, who is a good catcher in his own right, 98% run value, but also like tied with another Blue Jay, Mr. Alejandro Kirk, who wasn't nominated. So
Yeah.
For me, it's weird. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that you're totally onto something. You're not the only one, right? Like you look at this this Instagram post posted by Talking Baseball, just giving him the announcing that Cal won the Platinum Glove. The top comment, with 74 likes, is Varsho was an absolute lock for this. Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different comments in here talking about how it's like should have been Varsho. Now there's a lot of people saying that it is deserved, and like I don't want to take anything away from Raleigh's game. Like the guy, I think there are arguments to be made here. Right. I do think that there are arguments to be made here. However, when you're considering Alejandro Kirk, who is another catcher, plays the exact same position as you, and, had very similar defensive stats and wasn't even nominated for a Gold Glove, that's where it's like, okay, well, wait a second. If this guy's a Platinum Glove and, this other guy that did effectively the exact same thing as you, if not even better, wasn't even nominated. I just don't know, what are we using to qualify this? Why is what's the difference? What's moving the needle for Raleigh and not moving the needle for Kirk or or Varsho, right? That's what I don't understand.
No, I'm looking at because obviously you have our peripheral numbers and everything like that. I'm looking at as well the straight up errors, right? Raleigh had 6 errors, Kirk had 7. Okay, Kirk had 1 more error,
right?
But not that much difference. Dalton Varsho, I know it's outfield, so it's a lot. You commit a lot less errors, but he has 1 error in center field. all year.
Yeah.
1 error in left field, whereas Riley had 6. Again, very hard to compare center field to catcher. Catchers make a ton more errors than an outfielder, but still, it felt like Varsho. This was Varsho's year to win it, and clearly he was the guy.
Yeah.
And plus, also, Blue Jays won the overall team defensive Gold Glove award for the 2nd straight year. Shout out to the Blue Jays for winning something, right? But it's mainly because of Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, I agree, man. Again, like it feels like there's almost like some type of positional bias going on here, where it's like, oh, well, because he's a catcher, like we look at that as being more valuable or something. I don't know. I want to know what the metrics are here that people are voting on that's giving this guy more. Because for me, I do think that it is kind of ridiculous. Like if somebody is in the 100th percentile in fielding run value, unless they're up against another person that's in the 100th percentile, well, that person should win, right?
Yeah. I mean, even comparing, run outs above average for a catcher. They don't actually have outs above average because they're a catcher, but you have 14, whatever the number is for a baseball savant, for 14 fielding run value, whereas Dalton has 17.
Yeah.
So it's like you won. So I don't know. For me, it feels like a little bit of, again, like weird. Like who's voting for this right now?
Well, and I know that on a previous podcast we just talked about how kind of ridiculous the Gold Glove and the Platinum Glove and all that shit is, and it is, right?
It's staying ridiculous.
It kind of sucks because it's one of those things that like I like to look at, or like I used to like to look at, and was like, oh, okay, like this guy is consistently winning Gold Gloves.
Right.
But this is Dalton Varsho's first Gold Glove that he's ever won?
First Gold Glove he's ever won in his career.
That's kind of stupid,
ridiculous.
you know what I mean? Like this is somebody that I would assume at least your second one, with how many years that you've now played and have been so good defensively speaking, right? Like I would think that you'd have more than just one at this point. So I don't know. Maybe there's just a lot of disrespect going on to Dalton Varsho.
Maybe.
Shouldn't be the case because that guy out there in the field, like if you haven't seen him play the field, you gotta, right? Like it's every other game, literally every other game, there's some type of play that he makes out there, makes it look routine, and the announcers are like speechless.
Yeah, like he'll make the sexy plays every other game, and then every game it's like, oh, that ball's gonna be hit into a double. Oh no, wait, there's Varsho there.
Nope,
he's immediately there, right? And look, that's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. On the NL side of things, I think probably arguably more ridiculous. Bryce Turang won the Platinum Glove. His outs above average, or his fielding run value, was 4, which is the 78th percentile. He's a great defender. He wasn't even the best defender on his team. You also got Francisco Lindor not getting nominated, who was in the 98th percentile. Someone explain this to me, please.
No, I don't get that. I don't get, again, like it pisses me off because this is something that could and should have weight to it.
Yeah.
And when you have a discrepancy, like okay, the Rally and the Varsho thing, it's like, all right, it's close enough that, you know what, maybe I'm not as familiar with Rally's game as I should be. Maybe there's some other underlying stuff that I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Right.
It is what it is. You guys are both great defenders. You want a Gold Glove, you get the Platinum Glove. Okay. But when it's such a difference like this, it insults the award and it takes away its value, where it's like, okay, well, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
It feels like we just threw all the names into a hat and just pulled one out.
Literally.
It's like, oh, it's Turing this year. Like, why?
Yeah. And people in the comment section on Talking Baseball were like, oh, it's all Patrick Bailey because he was the number 1 overall fielding run guy. If anyone should have won it from a catching position, it should have been him. He was dominating overall. Yeah, and everyone was just like, robbed. He was robbed. And then obviously Lindor comments and just terrible. It was just terrible. Yeah. So that's the Platinum Glove Award winners. I was holding on faith that maybe some some vengeance would come back for me, like saving the award. But now I just realized it's all stupid and doesn't matter anymore.
MLB fucked it again, guys. Yep. Yeah, they ruined it. I mean, this is nothing new. It does happen, but just another thing that we shouldn't put any weight or value into. Quick shout out here to Greta Bar, everybody. If you haven't already done so, go check out Greta Bar. It's located in downtown Toronto, King Street West. Great games, great food. They're going to be playing all the hockey games. I imagine on Sundays they got the NFL games going on and everything like that. So definitely go check it out if you're looking for like a fun date night in the winter and whatnot. I know that we'll probably be there a couple times prior to the next baseball season because it is So good. Let's transition and talk a little bit about this article from MLB. Their official predictions, I guess, if you will, from where these top free agents are going to end up. Now, I believe that they got a bunch of different analysts to submit their votes, a group of 52 voters from MLB.com, so people that write or are informed, have submitted their votes, but where these people are going to go. The first one, like we said, is Juan Soto. We know it's going to be one of the New York teams. Mm-hmm. Honestly, one of the more interesting ones for me is Corbin Burnes down here. So they got the 52 people to submit. Corbin Burnes played with the Baltimore Orioles this year. I was thinking to myself, like, if you're Baltimore, you got to make sure that you lock this guy up for time. They're thinking, though, that they are going to lose out to the New York Mets and Steve Cohen.
Yeah, 31% of the voters saying that they're going to go to the Mets, and then you have 21 for the Orioles, and then you have 13 tied for third place, 30% for the Dodgers, 30% for the Red Sox. Honestly, that makes a lot of sense, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, if Cohen seriously, like you brought up, they have no rotation. If Cohen seriously wants to make some splashes and go back to the dance again, in the postseason, go deep.
Yeah.
You kind of need to go get a Corbin Burnes, and you got to go splash that money out there. Like now's the time. That makes a lot of sense. Whereas the Orioles, we have yet to see them lock in a big free agent in this new dynasty they've had. They got a new owner last year. This is the time. Like, if you don't do it this year, the questions are going to continue to circle around this team where you don't go and you don't buy. You don't go and make big splashes on free agency. So this is the time for them to step up and take it away from the Mets, but it's going to be damn hard to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Baltimore, this is the offseason where, in my opinion, you know what? It's you go. You
gotta
right?
go now.
You've proven that you have a young core here.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you can make it to the dance. You know that in your best season you could win over 100 games. You got that. You have it, and that's great. But there's only a couple of years left where Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and, hopefully Jackson Holiday comes up and plays better baseball than he did. But there's only a couple of years where these guys are going to be cheap.
Yeah.
Right? And in these years where they are cheap, you should be capitalizing on that and going out and spending and buying on somebody like a Corbin Burnes or, holding on to Anthony Santander. We don't even talk about that, but if they lose that guy,
that's a big
that's
piece.
another. That's two massive, guys that are leaving your team right now. You got to supplement that with somebody, right? And if you lose both of them, I'm going to look at you very differently. So you're right. They do need to do something else. I also think something that's really interesting in this article is the fact that you got the Mets up there favorited to get Corbin Burnes. You also have the Mets favorited to retain Pete Alonso. You have the Mets second in the Juan Soto sweepstakes, second in the Blake Snell sweepstakes. Everybody is just thinking that the Mets are going to do everything now.
Yeah.
Is there any reality where they get Pete Alonso back, Corbin Burnes in, and Juan Soto?
Yeah. I mean, if they're going and buying Juan Soto, that's what you've sold to him, right? We're going to add and we're going to supplement this team with a winning team. So, yeah, if there is a reality where that happens, and it will cost Steve Cohen a lot more money out of his own pocket for sure, but that's what it feels like it's going to have to take if you get a Juan Soto. And if they don't, then they're going to go still spend a lot of money and make this team good because, they are losing Pete Alonso in their entire rotation. So they're going to do everything they can to come back to contention for sure. For sure.
That would just be an absolutely wild offseason if you got all of those players in right there.
Actually, I got another one here, too, that I thought was kind of interesting as well. Speaking of Anthony Santander, Phillies. This one seemed pretty spread, okay? Because the number one was Phillies at 17%, Royals at 12%, Yankees at 10% to get Anthony Santander. Royals was an interesting one. But Phillies being the number one was kind of interesting because I look at their outfield right now. You got Brandon Marsh, solid, quality left fielder right now. Johan Rojas, not a guy, really, that we've seen too much of. Brandon Marsh could play a little bit of center field, too. And then in right field, you got Nick Castellanos, right? And then you have Bryce Harper over at first base now. Normally people think of him as right field. He's been at first base for the last few years. But, I mean, this is interesting. They have a lot of power guys. And Anthony Santander is the perfect, again, another power guy that would fit right into that Phillies lineup. And, you'd probably slide Brandon Marsh over to center, plop Anthony Santander into left field. But that lineup would just be even grosser and just keeping with that identity of Phillies where it's like an FU mentality and we're going to slug until we win. I didn't even think about that, but the Phillies, they could definitely go add.
Yeah, I mean, Phillies are being slept on a little bit, I think, this free agency. Maybe it is because of their early postseason exit that we just, they're not at the forefront of our minds. But that's a big spending team, right? And they are still in their window. They still have some years left where they got Nola and they got Wheeler and they got Harper and Schwarber and all these players, right? But the time is going to run out eventually.
Yeah.
And, there's going to come a season where Harper's not swinging it as well, or Schwarber is instead of hitting 40 bombs is striking out a lot more, and it's not delivering. I'd say that you got maybe 2 really good years left where you are in the mix and you can get a chip and you can get it done. So before it's all said and done, I think you got to continue to go all in here, and Anthony Santander would be a really nice get. They're also favorited to get the top bullpen arm as well, and Tanner Scott, which makes a lot of sense to me. Phillies, as we know, has always their bullpen's always been a little shaky, even though the last couple of years have been getting better, and I think they want to keep it that way, keep it getting better, keep it on the upswing, because they know, if you're playing a game where it's we're going to outslug you, well, in a game where the home runs aren't coming, we got to keep that thing real nice and tight so that one home run can get us the win or can secure the victory. So Tanner Scott would look really good in a Phillies uniform.
Yeah, and last but not least, the one other notable one, Teoscar Hernandez. 81% of the voters said he will be a LA Dodger next year.
And I think they're right about that. Yeah, I do. The only way that he's not an LA Dodger is if Juan Soto does go to the Dodgers, which is feeling just pretty, again, you never know with the LA Dodgers, but that feels kind of far-fetched. Teoscar Hernandez was such a nice addition for LA, batting fourth, batting fifth in that lineup most days. Just keep him. Just keep him.
He fits perfectly, wants to play for you. And I loved how emotional he got at the parade, too. Guys, that is the episode here for Bad for Baseball. Let us know all of your thoughts in the comments down below about Roki Sasaki, whether or not he's going to come to the Dodgers, how much you think he's going to get paid, what's that going to look like over there, and as well, the whole Juan Soto, sweepstakes, and as well, that article, man. That article was ridiculous. Let us know your thoughts. Go give it a read, too. You can look it up, guys. New York Post, Juan Soto. You'll see it right there.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hit that like, smash the subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Cheers.